discounts with my first public speaking experience. It was when I was very small, and I joined the Hong Kong Speech Festival, the solo verse speaking sessions. And my first memory wasn't about being on stage, reciting the poem. It was actually practicing at home, which was before my parents. I remember I was basically in my underwear with a pair of pants or something. And somehow, when I got nervous, I would keep fidgeting with my right hand and keep dropping in my pants or whatever. I think a lot of kids I've seen later on also do that. And so one of my earliest memories is crying at home, trying to recite the poem and not forget the words while also trying to not move my right hand and not fidget and seem confident.
I remember my primary school teacher would make us all try and do speeches in front of the class. And because he was very good at drama, he would just give us a question or a word like spaghetti, and we would have to speak about the topic without saying or pausing or repeating a statement. And so, but that was primary 3 or something. And I remember being really scared. And then we would be a class, and then we would have to point out when someone did the mistake so that it could be our turn. And then when he stops the timer, the person who would still be there would win something.
My first public speaking experience was much earlier than those. But I think the one that I really remembered as my first public speaking experience would be my first debate contest. And I was really new to debate, and when you're new to a competition, the opposing team, even though they are your age, they look like they're 8 feet tall, and they seem like they're so much older than you, and they're so aggressive. And I remember I was the first speaker, and so right after the opposing team made a speech, and I was really sweating. How am I supposed to respond to that? I knew I prepared for it, but my mind was going completely blank. And even I was fidgeting with my cue cards. I was sweating, and I was so nervous about it. And then I stared at my coach at the audience, and she made me feel a lot safer. And I looked at my teammates, and they were smiling, and they were being very, very supportive. So somehow, through their support, I managed to muster the courage and went through my speech. And I don't even remember the result of the competition.
Well, for me, I always see public speaking as a means to something else. So it's not an end in itself. So public speaking for me was a road to other things like debate, other things like confidence in class, or participating more in discussions. So it was never really I'm going to be good at public speaking and that's it. It's more public speaking is a great way for me to gain the skills that I can use in other things. So I think it is through those other things and being passionate about things like debate, participating in class, and talking in front of a large group of people in another setting. I think working on those different aspects really helped me to hone my public speaking skills.
The way I mostly get better is by being around other people that are good at public speaking, and mainly learning from them, because a lot of public speaking is about having an alternate perspective, whether it be having an alternate perspective on the same impromptu word that you get, perspectives from other really, really great people that also kind of lift you up as well. And also, you also need these other people who are good at public speaking to tell you when you're making mistakes, when you're, for example, I have a lot of people around me telling me that you move too much, you speak too fast, etc., etc. And so it's this kind of stuff, having other people around. I think it's really, really, if you want to improve in public speaking, that's a great way to do it.
I wanted to empower audiences or students that you can also someday be a leader and speak out your mind. And that itself, and I think it helps you provide personal motivation to get better. But then you need to find the means of how you're going to be better. And I definitely agree with Alex that having your friends, your peer, or your teachers watching your video of you perform and pointing out maybe a little bit of movements and tones, how you can do better, those definitely help.
Another thing that reminds me of is I used to film myself, and I would record myself and I'd watch it. So I had the privilege of having a coach, and my parents also watched me, and they would listen to my speech repetitively for like 10, 20 times. Luckily, they didn't get tired, but I know that some people might not have that opportunity. And so towards the end, I think in 2016, when I understood what made a good speech, or what things I should have been looking out for in myself, I just ended up recording myself and seeing, you know, how fast I'm moving my hands, or whether I need to change my intonation, or to pronounce certain words a different way so that people could understand. And I think that sometimes I'm like the biggest critic of myself. Like when I watch my EPS videos, not that I do, but when I watched my videos, I would point out things that I didn't realize I was doing in my speech, and I think that really helped me.
It was quite intense. I remember there were lots of students and a huge panel of judges sitting there at the audience, and I think we had to. I remember our topic that year was whether Hong Kong is becoming a welfare state, and we gave a speech on it. And afterwards, there was a 1-minute impromptu speech, which was quite exciting as well. But the best thing I think about EPS is the people you meet, and those friendships are built for a long time, and I'm still in touch with them. So I think that's pretty much everything I remember from EPS.
And I remember one of those moments that I had like an unintentional blunder was when I was unexpectedly asked at the end of the contest in 2016. So I go onto the podium, and I remember Brian was the MC. He was like saying, "Okay, now make an acceptance speech, like impromptu." Yeah, it's like the MCs always do this. And then I go on, and it's like, "Oh, okay." And then when it came to like, I'm gonna do thanking my parents, thanking my teachers and stuff. And then when I got to the judges, I just said, "Yeah, thank you to the judges. You did a great job." And so everyone chuckled. Everyone in the room chuckled. I didn't quite know why they did that, but like eventually I realized, it's like, "Oh, so, you know, you made the decision," etc., etc.
Speaking of blunders, I think I remember my question and answer part 2 in my speech when I was in the senior division was something about terrorism, and I had never thought that they would ask me about terrorism and whether or not you negotiate with terrorists. And the only reason why I remember this is because one of my friends found my video like 2 weeks ago, and they pointed it out to me. But I remember at that moment, because like my speech was about corruption, and then they asked me about terrorism, and my last line was about corruption and not terrorism. I was just really, really worried. And so yeah, I think the thing about public speaking is that you're always going to have those moments where you just make a mistake, and that's kind of like the joy, and that's kind of part of the experience.
Public speaking isn't an end in itself. It's really a pathway to something greater, something that you want to do, be an opportunity, or mostly people. It's mostly connecting. I think when earlier on, when I was doing public speaking, I remember telling myself, like, don't think of it as public speaking, like, especially the terminology public speaking, because just think of it as talking with a lot of people. Because when you're talking, you don't get nervous. When you're talking, you can kind of speak your heart. You don't go through this extra layer of, oh, do I have to be presentable? Do I have to, do these gestures? Do I have to look good in front of the camera, etc.? And so, by thinking of it as talking, I think that's what I'm trying to convert public speaking into for myself, which is really the crux of it, being the connection that you make between you and no matter how many people you're talking to, those people that you're really trying to connect to. And to me, I think this connection is one of the most valuable things that I get out of public speaking.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. I used to be told that public speaking was like a really crucial life skill, and I don't think I really believed it even when I was a participant in high school. But the more that I experienced different things, like for example, I'm working on a charity project right now during the summer. And so all these skills, now that I think of it, were and did come from my experience with public speaking. And I think just like learning how to analyze things persuasively helps me in essays that I write, helps me to stand up for myself in class, or stand up to myself when I'm talking to a bunch of friends whose opinions different from mine. So it's really just a skill that helps you in unthinkable ways and will really equip you for the future.
I think for me, public speaking is definitely something I love. It's something that has helped me grow a lot. As I've said before, it's also something that gives you a platform to speak your mind. Public speaking to me is just to have a platform to do something meaningful.
This entire process has made me realize is that it's not just about that result. You don't define yourself by whether or not you were a finalist or not. It was basically a process in which you learned and you grew, and it helped you with skills that you never thought you would need in the future. And it's genuinely a very good experience and opportunity to learn.
Okay, so for this year's district finals contestants, just some small things we want to tell you. One, don't go into a room and try to impress the judges. Okay? You're going in there because you have a message you want to bring them. You have a message that you want them to take away. It's not about you wanting them to think you're a great speaker, the best speaker in the world, because we all know none of us are the greatest speakers in the world. And so, go in there, pass the message, and love the way you do it. I think loving the way you do it is very important. And to get there, you need to first let go and love the way you're doing speaking. Love the way you're presenting yourself first. That's my advice.
To be confident, prepare well for it, and you're bound to do well. You have great confidence in you, so just be comfortable and go for it.
For me, I would say first, find something that you love about public speaking and stick to it. Make sure you're enjoying the whole process. Two, don't define yourself by the results of the competition. It's not what matters. And three, make a speech about spaghetti and you won't regret it.
I really hope that all the EPS contestants this year, when you get to the competition, and after you finish your speech, I hope that they will ask themselves a few questions. The first is, did I give it my best shot? And the second is, did I enjoy it? And I hope that both of those answers would be yes. And regardless of the results, you're gonna get a great experience out of it.